Hey, bonus video. I told you I would be bringing you these little short bonus videos from time to time. I'm going to try to keep this really quick. But what I was going to say is when I have bourbon tastings, it's not just about the bourbon. It's about friends coming around the table and new acquaintances even, and enjoying bourbon together. But then there's festivities after the bourbon tasting's over with. And one thing I like to do is cook a dry aged ribeye steak. And the way I'm going to tell you how I do that, it's a huge hit at my bourbon tastings. And it's not that I cook a dry aged steak for everyone around the table. Sometimes I have 6 to 10 people here. But I will cook one massive bone-in ribeye steak, and then I'll sous vide it, and reverse sear it and cut it up, and then everyone will get to try a bite or two of that. And we'll have other hors d'oeuvres, other things that we have around. It's not about a big meal. It's about, and we don't eat anything before we try the bourbon. I'll tell you that. And I'll tell you about setting up a bourbon tasting later on in a different video. But for this one, let's focus on the beef because it is fantastic. Let me tell you, this is what I use. These are, and this is, I'm not getting any money for this. So I'm just telling you what I use. You can find whatever you want. But these are Umai dry aging bags. And I'll put links down below. But what this comes 3 to a pack. You get the dry aging bag, which is supposedly lets air out, but not, bad things in, like bacteria, things like that. And what I do is I buy a whole rib roast, untrimmed, from the butcher, and I like to get bone in, and then I transfer that straight from their packing paper into this bag, and then immediately use this puppy here to seal across the corner, turn it. They have this little fabric thing they give you in here, and you put it in there and then seal it down, and it'll suck the air down and it'll seal it off. But it's going to have little air pockets in there because it says on the bag, don't worry if it's not completely sealed flat, it's fine. And then what I do is I put it in this refrigerator over here, clear the top, half the top shelf, put oven racks in there or cookie racks, cooling racks, because you want air to get all the way around it. But I put it capsize up, in that refrigerator. They come with stickers in here so you can write on there with permanent marker, like I put it in at this date. Whether you want 45-day dry age, 60-day dry age, 90-day dry age, you just put the date on it, that target date. And then you can keep track of it. But again, these are Umai bags. I'll put a link down below. Once you get that sealed, it's set it and forget it, and just watch it turn dark over a matter of months. When I do mine for 60-day dry age. And the reason I said don't get trimmed is because you're going to want to keep that fat. So when you're trimming that thing, you have to cut all of the dark part off the outside. You can look that up in a different video. There's a lot of videos out there teaching you how to trim dry aged beef and things like that, and how to do it and get it off there. I'm not here to teach you how to do that, but I'm telling you, get into it. It's really fun. The meat turns a deep dark red on the inside. Proteins break down a little, makes it super tender. But once it's ready, you pull it out, you get it on a cutting board, you pull it out of the Umai bag, and as long as there's not an odor to it, and really there's not, you just I start cutting them into steaks, and then I trim each steak. I just found that the easier method, but whatever you find online. Once you get those done, then I take them and I pull out enough to seal off, and I seal each steak separate. And the only thing I write on it is 60 because anytime you look in my deep freezer and you see a bag with a steak in it that has a number on it, that's mine, because that's dry aged to that many days. And so I'll put a big 60 on them, throw them in the deep freezer, and then a day before I do the bourbon tasting, I'll pull one out, I'll let it thaw, get it in the fridge for overnight. Then before I cook it, This is an immersion circulator. This is a Wancle. I got this off of Amazon, but any immersion circulator will do. You can look up reviews on those things. But what I have here is a Rubbermaid 12-quart bucket, and they make these neoprene sleeves for them. It holds the heat in for the water. You just put this sucker in there like this and plug it in, and well, not like that, sorry. You got to have the heater on the inside. Yeah, let's see, right there. And at 10 quarts in this thing, it's right at the max fill line right there. And that's where you kind of want it. Then I take my steak that was in one of these bags, unseasoned, cut it open. I use salt, pepper, garlic powder. Then I put it into another clean bag and get ready to seal it off. Then I put a pat of butter in there on each side, and I douse it with a couple of dashes of Worcestershire sauce. That's it, buddy. And then I put it in here, seal it down. You can see that couple of dashes of Worcestershire spread all around in there. And then when this thing heats up, I usually go, it's personal preference, whether you want it rare, medium rare. You can look up your temperatures online. But I go to 113 internal temperature, 3 hours for that big old steak, maybe 3.5 hours. You can't overcook it. So put it in there. The settings gives you temp and time. And then I drop the bag down in the water when it beeps the first time, clip it with a little sandwich clip or something to hold it in place. And that will just cook it and cook it and cook it for, it'll slowly bring that temp up. When your steak is done, it's going to be gray. So don't worry about that. You can cook it, you can fire up some charcoal. You can get you a little head for a propane tank to sear it. Personally, I throw butter in a pan, about a quarter of a stick of butter, and then I grow fresh rosemary, and I cut that, and I put that in there with the butter. And when the pan gets hot, I put the steak in, sear it on one side, flip it, and then when it starts searing on that side, that's why I have my temp at 113, because I'm going to bring it up just a little. I start basting it with that butter, with that rosemary infused butter, and from there I go to my cutting board, let it rest for about 5 minutes before I cut it. That's it. So let me tell you, this is so easy. It's a set and forget. You just, it's a little money on the rib roast, but it's totally worth it. You're going to get a lot of steaks out of it. But you put it in there, get it sealed up, forget it for however long. Just check on it every once in a while. Then when you get it out, cut the steaks up, trim them, reseal them individually, throw them in the freezer. And then when you get ready to cook, take it out, thaw it, put it in a new bag, seasoned up, get it in this immersion circulator, set it for a few hours, maybe even 3.5 to 4 hours, depending on how big, thick your steak is. And then go on and do other things. Come back later, get it out of here, cut the bag open, sear it however you want to sear it, and you've got a hit on your hands. All right, guys, so if you like these videos, please subscribe. I'll keep bringing you more, I promise.